Radio station.
Hello, good evening and welcome to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice.
And I am Alfred, Ocansey.
The news is also live on Ocansey 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. On Facebook, we're streaming live on 3FM 927. Coming up in the next 1.5 hours, Boku Township turns into ghost town as soldiers allegedly brutalize civilians and order closure of shops.
Also, this evening here on Hot Edition, President Akufo-Addo orders deployment of security forces to clamp down on illegal miners following intense demand for a decisive action against illegal mining from government.
Meanwhile, the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners says that a total ban on small-scale mining is not the way to go.
This evening, we engaged some stakeholders on whether the 45% increase in farm gate price for cocoa could curb cross-border smuggling. That's a conversation that we have here on Hot Edition. We're also live on Kesme 107.1 in Tamale. We're live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Here on your Election Command Center campaign trail, we update you on the number of flag bearer hopefuls and then, in fact, some presidential candidates who have filed their nomination at the Electoral Commission. 14 of them so far out of the expected 33 who have picked these forms at the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission is also set to address a press conference on issues related to the Electoral Register. We are there for you on your Election Command Center. We'll cross over shortly to the Electoral Commission to give you updates. We have the latest in business and sports over the next 1 hour, 30 minutes.
For now, though, Safwa Boahene is here with a summary of the news. Safwa.
Thank you, Beatrice, and welcome to the news segment. Now to our first story. The victims of Apiati Phase 3 have staged a protest against the authorities' inaction despite being given a deadline of August 31 to evacuate the occupants of the building on their plot. A month has passed since the deadline with no action taken, leaving the protesters feeling frustrated, disappointed and ignored. They demand attention and action to address their unresolved plight. The Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners is fighting back against calls for a temporary ban on small-scale mining. Various groups have urged the government to ban small-scale mining as measures are put in place to deal with illegal mining, popularly called Galamsey. President Akufo-Addo has ordered the deployment of the police and the military to crack down on illegal small-scale mining as calls grow for action. The decision was taken after a national security meeting to assess the impact of Galamsey on river bodies and the environment. The Ministry of Youth and Sports has instructed the Ghana Football Association (GFA) to urgently request the Confederation of African Football (CAF) to inspect two major stadiums in Accra for possible approval as alternative venues for upcoming international matches. This directive follows CAF's decision to revoke the Category 3 status of the Baba Yara Sports Stadium in Kumasi, citing concerns over the poor condition of the pitch. And now, before we go, there are reports that the Boku Township in the Upper East region has turned into a ghost town after soldiers brutalized and ordered closure of shops. Police say it is an operation to calm lives following gun attacks. And this brings us to the end of our news segment and over.
Thank you very much, Safwa Boahene. And on that Boko note, a military raid in that town of the Upper East region has led to the closure of shops and residents abandoning the township to take cover. Now, the raid, police sources say, was to flash out gunmen who carried out an attack on a tricycle rider in one of the suburbs. Correspondent Castro Senyala has been monitoring this incident. He joins us live on the line. Castro, what can you tell us?
So we understand that the Boko Township is currently a ghost town as a lot of residents are running for cover in whatever way they can because the military has initiated a raid and in fact started yesterday after we understand that there was a gun attack that almost ended deadly on a tricycle rider who had crossed from one side of the factions to the other to purchase wood. Police have been very tight-lipped as usual, but sources and highly placed sources within the police confirmed that yes, indeed, they are aware of the military raid, and it was or it is in as part of measures to flush out these gunmen who continue to terrorize residents and derail the peace-building process. But I've also been speaking to these sources who tell me that the police hierarchy in the region and that of the military have visited the place, and as we speak, calm has returned. But the shops remain closed and everyone remains indoors earlier than the KFC hours.
Thank you very much, Castro Senyala. We'll return to you as and when there's something up there. But we're joined by Adib Sani. He's a security analyst. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Adib, I'm sure you've monitored what has transpired so far. Can this incident trigger a bigger problem?
Absolutely. Already, the situation in Boku is nothing to write home about. Indeed, yesterday, I understand there was an attempted assassination in a part of Boku. As it happens, I get calls. Because I have a lot of legs on the ground who feed me the information as it happens. However, I also learned that the military besieged the area, perhaps in a quest to look for the perpetrators, which ended up in some people getting beaten. I think it's quite an unfortunate incident. And my worry is the cycle of reprisal attacks that has characterized the area over the period. Secondly, the human security issue, because if the town is become a goods town and shops are closed, obviously it would have some ramifications on those human securities, such as access to food and basic necessities of life, which can greatly impact the way people live in that area. So the issue has, become very multidimensional in nature. Beyond the physical security aspect of it, we are bedeviled with other emerging human insecurities that I must say is not just having a security effect or concern for that area, but the whole country as a whole.
Mr. Sani, you talked about assassination attempt on who?
On an individual, I don't know the name. The name wasn't mentioned to me, but surely there was an attempt to kill him. I understand a gun was fired at him, missed. Fortunately for him, I think the gun jammed, and so they couldn't fire the second shot. That is when he was able to escape. But from what I understand, it wasn't far from the police station.
So you talk about assassination attempt. Based on the information you have, is this person a high-profile personality in that community, for instance?
I should think so. And surely the person belongs to one of those sides. And that is the status quo, so to speak, in the area. We've had a consistent pattern of assassinations and counter-assassinations and reprisals. And guess what? It doesn't just happen in Boku. It happens in other parts of the north. We've had assassinations in Bolga as well. We've had some clashes in Accra. So that is why I have always said that if you are in Accra or Kumasi and think that Boku is far away from you and whatever happens is their cup of tea, you are wrong. You are badly mistaken. Because what is happening in that part of the country has serious security risk to the whole country. We're talking about terrorism, and you and I know full well that terrorism thrives where there's instability. And the Boku case is a unique breeding ground for terrorists if really they want to harm us in Ghana. So surely it is a matter of grave concern for those of us within that security space, and we need government to do better than it is doing in addressing the issue.
And I'll come to you on how you expect the government to do better, like you just said. But the military raid we're talking about, police sources are telling us that it was to flush out gunmen who carried out an attack on a tricycle rider, like we just mentioned. Yes. Was that, based on where you sit or stand, was that the right approach? Because time and again, we're speaking about military involvement in things that are internal or interior.
The place has become so restive. There's so much lawlessness, and rampant killings has put the whole area into a state of insecurity. That is why the military sometimes has to go in hard. And mostly they go in also not just to look for the perpetrators, but to look for the weapons that are being used. But the shocking thing about all of this is how inventive they have become in keeping those weapons, away from the eyes of the security services. You can go into a building, literally turn it upside down. You wouldn't find anything. Meanwhile, there are guns in there. So they've become so innovative with it, and I must say that is worrying, and that is why I think that our fight should be more scientific. We should be engaged in more surgical operations based on actionable intelligence. So what your reporter is saying is very consistent with the information that I also have from the ground.
We talk about the town becoming a ghost town. Based on the explanation you're giving us, do I get the understanding that you fear with terrorist activities all around us, there could be infiltration and that could worsen the situation?
That is an incontrovertible fact. Terrorists might take advantage of the situation because on periodic basis we have refugees streaming into the country when their villages are attacked in the thick of the night. And we are not in a position to tell who are terrorists and who are legitimate asylum seekers or refugees, because sometimes before relief agencies get there, they might have moved towards Tamale or towards Kumasi or even Accra. The possibility that terrorist elements might also back one of the sides in the conflict in exchange for safe haven is also high. I mean, in the past, we've had security documents leaked that indicated movement of certain persons within that area that fit that description. So it is quite worrying, and we have to pay more attention to Boku if really we want to prevent any terrorist activity in the country in the first place.
Mr. Sani, let me ask you two questions in one. You talked about those in Accra thinking that this is up there, so we don't really care, and the fact that it's a joke because it could trickle down to Accra. And then I hear you also talk about how, in terms of reprisals, this could get worse. Can you tell us more about what you mean by these 2 points?
Okay, so the thing is, we do know the Mampusis and the Kusasis have been at each other for years on end. And it looks like our approach has been militarized in posture. But I've always indicated that, look, this thing is multidimensional. And a lot of it, believe it or not, is due to illiteracy. Recently, I was asking one of the combatants why he's fighting. You know what he told me? Oh, my father said the other side killed my grandfather, and so I'm obliged to fight them. And enrollment is also quite poor because of the fighting. A lot of children are not going to school, and so they meddle with bad friends. And as soon as they get to the teenage years, they are able to assemble and disassemble an AK-47, and they are able to fire. So the issue of education is there, the issue of joblessness is there, the issue of organized criminality, taking advantage of the situation to engage in their own criminal enterprise, such as robberies. So they rob and they kill. And the first question people ask is he Mapusi or Kusasi? If it's Mamprusi, oh, it's the Kusasis who killed him. If it's Kusasi, oh, it's the Mamprusis who killed him. But there are some criminal elements who are taking advantage of the confusion to even engage in human trafficking, arms trafficking, and even drug trafficking. All right, so it's a cacophony of societal and economic deficits that is giving rise to what is going on. And if we think that by militarizing the area we are solving it, I'm sorry to say that cannot work. And as a conflict theorist, I do know that when you go beyond the outer layer of the onion to the inside, that is when you address the position and the interest and the need aspect of it, you would realize that the military approach is just a very minute percentage of what really needs to be done to solve this issue once and for all.
Let me just ask you my last question. You've talked about the fact that the government can handle this better. And I know you mentioned we should look at more scientific approach. And you're just talking about the military approach as well. How else would you expect the government to deal with this problem at hand?
We need to ensure that people have access to basic necessities of life. The human insecurities is a major issue. The youth not having jobs, according to the Ghana Statistical Service, I think the unemployment rate right now is about 14.7. We have about 2 million Ghanaians who are idle, no jobs, no school, no nothing. So if really we want to deal with this issue in a much more sustainable way, then we need to address those structural socio-economic deficits that is giving rise to all that is happening. Secondly, the issue of law enforcement. You see, there are some areas the police dare not go there. So when there's crime, the possibility of the police arresting perpetrators and making them to go through the process is almost, unrealistic. And so if someone kills my brother, I don't report to the police. What I do is to pick an arm and go retaliate. And that has been the cycle. So if we are able to improve law enforcement and hold people to account for their actions and inactions, then it serves as a deterrent. And it sends a clear, notice to them that, hey, you are not in a jungle republic, okay, and this must stop. Because the government is spending so much money to stop people from fighting. Money that, in my opinion, could have been used for cheap compounds, money that could have been used to improve on the lot of the people in that area. Yet, these monies are spent to stop people from fighting. I mean, how crazy can this get?
Thank you very much, Adib Sani.
It's live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. To some more stories, we go straight into the matters of Galamsey. President Akufo-Addo has ordered the deployment of the Ghana Police Service personnel and the military to crack down on illegal mining across the country, which is indeed in response to the calls for action to be taken. A decision was taken after a national security meeting to assess the impact of Galamsey on river bodies and the environment. Government has come under fire intense pressure to halt small-scale mining and crack the whip on sponsors of illegal mining and their assigns. Organized Labour on Wednesday issued a stern warning to government, threatening a nationwide strike by end of September if decisive action is not taken to address the escalating Galamsey crisis. But the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners, NASM, whose members have also been licensed by the Minerals Commission, believes a total ban on small-scale mining is not the way to go, but rather fishing out and dealing with those engaged in destroying the environment through illegal mining.
We, as Ghana National Small Scale Miners Association, will not heed to the call of a temporal ban or permanent ban. The reason being that this is an industry whereby people have to understand, because we don't have anything called illegal small-scale mining. We only have small-scale mining, and then we have large-scale mining, and then we have illegal mining. So if we are talking of banning illegal mining, it shouldn't be even a ban, something which is illegal. We don't even call it a ban. It means that we have to find a way and take those people out. Illegalities which nobody will condone, which we as an association, we are having sleepless nights, day and time with these illegal miners. A ban on small-scale mining shouldn't be the solution for now, but the solution is how do we stop illegal activities? But they call that where small-scale miners are going beyond boundaries and what. Fine, we may have recalcitrant ones, yes, which we need to deal with. We cannot say that all the small-scale miners are doing the right thing. In as much as we cannot say that, it should also look at the other side of the whole coin. What is the problem? The problem is as our water bodies and then the forest reserves, which is creating this whole havoc, whole problem. Now, there's no license which is being given to mine on river bodies. There's no license which is given to mine in forest reserves. Anybody who is mining in forest reserves, they are either large-scale companies or illegal miners. They don't give us licenses as small-scale miners to mine in forest reserves, and they don't give us licenses to mine on water bodies. So anybody who is perpetrating that illegality, he's an illegal person. And the moreover, let us all cast our mind back. As of 2017, there was a total ban on small-scale mining activities. While we, the legitimate small-scale miners, were sitting home, illegalities were still going on. So that time, those who are calling for this total ban, where were they? What solutions have they brought? Because as of 2018, whilst we were at home, people were doing illegalities, and government were bold enough to come and say that small-scale mining industry produced a whole lot of gold, about 40% of gold. Meanwhile, there was a ban on small-scale mining.
Well, that's Abdul Razak Al Hassan, Communications Director of the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners, co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. Adam Senano says calls for drastic measures to tackle illegal mining are not political.
I don't know why anybody wants to say this is partisan. I mean, Ghanaians are aggrieved. We've been long in getting to this point where we are upset about what is going on. But the facts on the ground, the evidence is clear that where we are, it's a crisis point. If they want to pretend that we are not in a crisis situation, that's up to them. But for the rest of us, it's a crisis that demands emergency actions, including what all organized labor and other groups are saying. If they don't understand the magnitude of the challenge where we are, then they cannot call themselves our leaders. They can't do the task. They should resign and allow us to find people who bring the change, and let's show that our lives are safe. Health is guaranteed. You don't have, this has affected the cocoa industry, it's affecting infrastructure, it's affecting health. It's a major disaster. And I don't see anything partisan about it. The groups that are calling, the civil society, the religious groups, the trade union, the UTAG, what have you, are those partisan groups? It is neither here nor there. They should get to work.
Adam Sano is a co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. Our society organizations in the northern region have also intensified calls for a total ban on illegal mining or small-scale mining in all forms. According to the CSOs, continuous devastation of water bodies and the environment caused by illegal mining is an indication that government has failed in the fight against illegal mining. We're going to speak to Christopher Marco in a bit, but also get the security conversation underway, and the security analyst as well, Dr. Victor Doke, is going to be joining us a bit for a conversation on this matter and how this issue is also coming up. Dr. Doke, I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Yes, hello, can you hear me? Your voice is a bit faint.
I can hear you clearly. Can you hear me?
If you can raise your voice a bit for me, that'll be I'll appreciate it.
Well, is it better now?
Yes.
Perfect. Yesterday, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources says the call for the declaration of a state of emergency is far-reaching, and in fact, he says it's draconian, to say the least, because the situation now may not be that much to warrant the declaration of a state of emergency. You agree with that position?
Well, thank you very much. With regards to his statement, I think the issue I see here is probably the word to use. Now, if the minister says a state of emergency is draconian, then we could declare national crisis. If it is the definition of state of an emergency, now you could have a state of emergency, and then you would require some elements, okay, to deal with this kind of issue, water crisis. And water crisis is a state of an emergency. There's no water supply, or you have water supply and it's polluted, the chemicals and the water, it causes diseases and all that. This is a state of emergency. So if it's the wording, it can have a different word.
I see, and I want to just hold a bit because these were part of the declarations. In fact, the demand that the CSOs and TUs were making, that there should be a declaration of state of emergency, also abrogation of concessions overlapping river buffers, abrogation of entry permits allowing access to globally significant biodiversity areas, the repeal of a law allowing mining in forest reserves, and also the presidential candidates should publicly declare their total support for the crisis response. That's to the issues of illegal mining. And I want us to take a listen to the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Abujinapo, and exactly what he said in response to this call for the declaration of state of emergency by the president.
To be dismissed. That's where I think we should begin from. We should listen to them, and those are views that they have analyzed and put forward, and I intend to engage various professional bodies, including TUCs, and I believe through that we may be able to polish our policy and our approach in dealing with this matter, and we will do so. Now, forest reserves, small-scale mining is not permitted in forest reserves. So the question about illegal small-scale mining in forest reserves, I think it is more about having the right mechanism to prevent such illegalities in our forest reserves. The law doesn't permit small-scale mining in forest reserves. Declare a state of emergency, that is within the bosom of the president, but I find that to be a far-reaching, really, a very draconian measure to take. And so we will engage them, and we will have this conversation. And I believe out of that, we may be able to come up with some consensus which we can work with.
So that's the minister right there, Dr. Doke.
Yes, sir. I can hear, yeah. I heard him.
And it's quite clear that he wants some further engagement because based on what he knows, where he sits, this is not the time to declare state of emergency.
Well, engagements are very good. Now, engagement should have been done in the first operations. Now, what CSOs are calling now and what some individuals, private entities are calling now with regards to the state of emergency is with regards to dealing with this illegal small-scale mining. Now, you halt it, you arrest the perpetrators, and then now you come up with a roadmap, treat the water bodies, simultaneously looking at finding jobs, opportunities for those young people who are engaged in these illegal activities to be doing. Otherwise, you solve one problem and then another problem emanates. Now, the question now is, where are all these young guys engaged in this illegality? Where are they going to go? What are they going to do? Now, when we say declaring a state of emergency or a national crisis and dealing with this issue, if we don't have water, it becomes a problem. It will be in short supply. And we all know when we have resources in short supply that cannot reach everybody, there's conflict. And then when there's conflict, it can end in violence. This is what you want to avoid. You would want to avoid a chain of reactions that would happen if we don't treat this issue as a national emergency. I agree, we need dialogue, a national dialogue at that matter. And so going forward, with regards to what the president has declared, there should be a very effective roadmap to deal with it. Otherwise, we're going to see reprisal attacks. When these security forces go into the forest and try to arrest these illegal miners, let's not forget some of these illegal miners are armed with small arms and they would want to retaliate. What are we also doing with regards to going into the forest and trying to arrest these miners? what would happen? We should have a plan, okay, to address the effects of what is going to happen. By that I mean the young ones in there who are going to come out. So we do not have migration to the urban cities, and then that would also create more problems.
I see. And a quick one on this, because now the minister is talking about the deployment of personnel of the Ghana Police Service and also the military. We've had instances in the past where military personnel who were deployed to go and tackle illegal mining found themselves actually involved in the illegality themselves. What should be done differently this time around?
Now, you see, it's good we are deploying the military, and that's what I call it for the roadmap. Now, whatever is going to happen has to be that anyone found culpable, the chiefs, those who give out land, those who are going in to do the arrests, the security, the military, anybody found culpable should be made to face the law. This is not being done, so people don't see the effect, okay? In the past, when we heard about allegations about prominent people involved in Galamsey, even now, the documentary that Fourth Estate did that came out, we should be seen to do something. Who are those involved? They should be picked up. The law should be seen to work. We have good laws, but enforcement is the problem. So these military and police personnel who are going in should know that this is a national security issue. So there isn't any room for sort of like negotiations or kind of like emotions to play in. When you arrest, you arrest. The law must take its course. Prosecutions must be made. And this should be done devoid of political lenses. Yes, we're in a political season. Politicians would like to take advantage of the issues. But this is more than politics. This is more than party politics. And if you don't deal with this, the repercussions are there. We are going to have not only the outbreak of diseases, which is also a national security threat, we're going to have pockets of reprisal attacks.
That's right there, and the reality of the situation is it not. Dr. Victor Doke, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Victor Doke, this is security analyst and also lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. Let's stay a bit further on this matter. In Tamale, we understand some CSOs in the part of the northern region have come together, making that clarion call for the ban on all forms of small-scale mining. My colleague Christopher Amwako is joining us from Tamale, where she's been engaging some of these CSOs. What have they been telling you, Chris?
Yes, so Alfred, basically, they are joining the call on illegal mining, small-scale mining, and that is because for them, if the water bodies are being destroyed, if the environment is being destroyed, then it means that it is going to have a long-term effect on the people of this country. For them, over the years, they've been hearing about Galamsey illegal mining from the southern parts of the country. Now it is in the northern parts of the country. You go to Upper East, Upper West, you go to the Savannah region, Bole area. It is massive. The water bodies, that is the Volta Lake, is beginning to be affected by these small-scale mining activities. And so it is raising questions of whether or not we have lost the fight against Galamsey. And so they are registering their displeasure, their frustrations on government for not being able to clamp down on the menace. Some of them have actually been talking to me. Let's take a listen to what they've been saying.
As a nation, we have totally failed in the fight against Galamsey. We should accept it and know what to do, because it's a total failure. If people in authority are not part of it, why can't they fight it? Chiefs are part of it, MPs are part of it, leading members of political parties are part of it, so they cannot fight this fight for us. I think as Ghanaians, we should just name and shame and call a spade a spade. And then, some of them have no sense of shame. They know Galamsey is happening at their backyard. Which Galamsey are they fighting?
This year, 2024, Ghana Foundation, in partnership with the Water Research Institute, did a research, and it came out clearly that the Volta River that runs through Burkina to the northern part is polluted with mercury. And we know we we all know mercury is banned, and that is in the water. And this has implications for the health of all of us. And nobody is regulating that, or it's hard to regulate.
So those are some of the CSOs who spoke to you on this. So I know that there's some form of illegal mining that takes place as well in that part of the region. And so hearing that there's that decision to deploy the military and the police personnel again, what has been the reaction so far?
Yes, so Alfred, you know that the livelihoods of these people depend on the mining that they do in this community. And so they are worried, and they are saying that this at this particular time is for the miners. This at this particular time is going to affect their businesses because they don't have any job doing, and that is where they get their daily bread from. But the bigger picture that these CSOs are looking at is that their activities as a minority group has a rippling effect on the majority of people who live in these areas, especially when the Volta Lake from Interesu all the way to Bamboy leading to Bui is being affected. Then it means that access to water in these areas is going to be a challenge.
Chris, appreciate you. Thank you so much for this update. Christopher Mwako is our Northern and Savannah regional correspondent. Also, and the reactions to the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Abojana Post, response to the calls for a declaration of the state of emergency because of these issues of illegal mining. The Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, General Secretary Thomas Musa Tanko, says the minister got it wrong.
They don't care whether we live or die. They don't care. And that is why there should be there should be a court to deal with this specific thing. And we have also said the law that gave them the mandate to be doing this thing, that law should be revoked. And we say at this particular point in time where we are, because we are between life and death. And but this time we are counting only minutes, because at any time in moment people are getting cancers and all that. So we are saying that the law should be put aside, and whether you have certificate, whether you have permit, whatever, all mining should be put on hold, because it is a state of emergency. So let nobody tempt us. And I repeat, for the minister, we have great respect for him, but this matter is not a ministerial matter. And I repeat, this matter is not a ministerial matter. When the president was talking, he spoke on authority, putting his own presidency on the line. It was not a ministerial job that was put on the line.
Right.
It was not an MP seat that was put on the line. It is a presidential job that was put on the line. So the minister cannot this time come and tell us what he has. As for the letter that he has written, we decline his invitation.
Why is that?
We decline his invitation. We will not even go there at all. We are dealing with, or we are engaging our own president, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. September ending, we want to hear something from him. And good news, of course. And the good news is that state of emergency should be declared.
That's Thomas Musa Tanko. He's General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers. They expect nothing but a declaration of a state of emergency by the president by the end of this month. Else, Labour is declaring a strike, shutting down government business. 20 minutes at the top of the hour. So live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa. We're back shortly with some more. The cocoa prices that announced yesterday by the Agric Minister has been received with mixed reactions. Some agree, others disagree. We understand there's some division amongst the cocoa farmers associations across the country. We'll tell you the latest. Stay with us.
Any of our loan facilities. For whoever you are and whatever you're doing, Bills has a product for you. No susu, no deposit. All you need is your Ghana card. Call 0302-200-390 or 0596-928-33 today and live a bill-free life. Bills Microcredit is licensed by the Bank of Ghana. Bills, financing your needs. Terms and conditions apply.
Still live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale. We're live on W93.5 and Y and beyond. Ghana has raised a fixed farm gate price for cocoa for the 2024-2025 crop season by nearly 45%, pegging it at 48,000 Ghana cedis per ton. This translates into 3,000 Ghana cedis per 64 kilogram bag of cocoa. The government says the move aims to help boost farmers' income and deter smuggling. Global cocoa prices have been buoyant this year as diseases and adverse weather in Ghana and Ivory Coast, which supply more than 60% of the world's cocoa, pushed the market to a third successive deficit. The new pricing comes as Ghana continues to face challenges related to the market volatility and external competition. World's leaders producer Cote d'Ivoire has yet to announce its farm gate price for the 2024-2025 crop season.
Indeed, and so what do the stakeholders make of this price hike, and will it be able to deter smuggling, which has been one of the main issues here? We're joined on the line now by Obed Owusu-Adai. He is co-convener, Ghana Civil Society Cocoa Platform. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Beatrice.
We understand you were expecting a 65 to 70% increment in farm gate price. The government could only give 45%. Somebody would say it's better than nothing, isn't it?
Beatrice, ordinarily, we would say yes, it's better than nothing. But unfortunately, looking at the market price on international market, we think it's not good enough and that the government could have done better. Then the second issue is that they did not give us any breakdown of the cost component. How did they arrive at the figure that they have arrived at? All those information have not come. So we are not satisfied with the figure that they are giving us, and we expect that they will come with explanation.
We'll go to that explanation, but earlier you had put out 65 to 70%. Let me ask you that same question you wish the government had given you answers to, which is you don't know by which calculation they came to the 45%. So you had 65 to 70%. How did you arrive at that?
Thank you, Beatrice. So we looked at the market. First, Ghana is a country that does, we use a sales our cocoa marketing, we use what we call the forward sales approach, which means that this season that we just started, the 2024-2025 cocoa season, the beans that we will aggregate, we sold it last season, or we did contracts with it last season. So if you want to have a fair idea of how much the farmer should be getting for this season, you look at the market dynamics for last season. And between September 2023 and August 2024, when you look at the monthly market price of cocoa, you realize that the average is around $6,104 US dollars. And so if you use that figure as your basis for the calculation, you should be getting a minimum of 3,500 Ghana cedis per bag.
Yes, we are listening to you, sir.
Yes, so I just gave you the basis for our calculation. We use the market figures that is announced by ICC, or the International Cocoa Organization. They do a monthly announcement of the average price for each month. We based our calculations on that figure, and then we also projected that government said they will give gross FOB percentage of not less than 60% to farmers, and then the net FOB they give 70%. So those were the numbers that we used, and then we used an exchange rate of 15.5, where we were even magnanimous with the exchange rate. We know that currently exchange rate is around 16.5,
yes.
16.7, but we use 15.5. And even if you use those magnanimous numbers, you are coming to around 3,500 Ghana cedis per bag, and not the 3,000 that they are giving us.
I'm sure the government would have explanation as to why it's not able to meet your demand, but what would have been fair for you, irrespective?
Yeah, so exactly, that is what we are saying, that what we would have seen as a fair price would have been 65 to 70, which should have been around 3,500 to 4,000 per bag.
So you still wouldn't go below that?
No, that is unacceptable, especially since Ghana is not an island. and we are not the only cocoa producing country, but we all trade on the same market. And we know how much our colleagues in Togo, our colleagues in Cameroon, our colleagues in Nigeria, those in Madagascar, Peru, and others are being paid per ton of cocoa. I mean, the farm gate that they are being paid. We know that government is making the argument that we are pegging our price against the Ivorian price. What they are not telling us is that in Ivory Coast, they don't give a fixed price for the whole year. What they do is they give a minimum price, and then the cooperatives and the marketers they can bargain with the traders for a higher price. So even as we have announced 3,000 for the whole year, it's likely that in Ivory Coast they can negotiate for more than 3,000 per what the cooperatives are able to bargain for.
Mr. Adai, let me ask you my last question. I know that one of the reasons the government is looking at or has given you this 45% increment is because it wants to help improve the well-being of farmers and again deal with one issue that it finds very troubling, smuggling. To what extent do you think this 45% increment would help deal with these?
Unfortunately, Beatrice, we don't think it will really address those challenges that we have in the sector. Let me take the two issues separately. The first is the livelihood and the work of the farmer. Inflation rate in Ghana has gone up, the cost of inputs have gone up, and everything, practically everything since January till now has gone up. And if you are increasing cocoa price and you peg it at 45, when inflation was around 54%, and the prices of products has gone up almost 50% in Ghana, then how is the farmer supposed to survive? On the second issue of smuggling, yes, last season we had our highest smuggling, not in the Western Corridor with Cote d'Ivoire, but rather with Togo, because Togo was paying 7,000 Ghana cedis per bag, while Ghana was paying just about 2,000 Ghana cedis. So if you want to minimize smuggling and you are paying 3,000, how will it be a disincentive for a farmer to sell their beans to somebody who will smuggle to our neighbors, especially in Togo? So these prices that they are giving us is not competitive enough to first address the livelihood needs of the farmers, and second, to minimize smuggling. They will not achieve any of these two problems. They cannot solve any of these problems with this price that they are giving us.
We'll have to end it here. Thank you very much, Obed Owusu-Adai. He's co-convener, Ghana Civil Society Cocoa Platform. Meanwhile, security consultant Colonel Festus Aboagye, retired, says that Ghana risks further jeopardizing its fragile relationship with Burkina Faso over Ghana's allegations that that country is aiding Russia to smuggle its cocoa. On September 7, 2024, the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Cocoa Board, Joseph Boahene Edu, claimed that the Russian military group Vanga in Burkina Faso, Niger, and other Francophone countries were buying cocoa smuggled from Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, implying a transnational organized crime. This act, Mr. Edu suggested, is partly to blame for a shortfall in cocoa production during the 2023-2024 season. Colonel Festus Aboagye is a security analyst. He joins us live on the line. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Beatrice.
Colonel, you make the argument that the claim by Cocoa Board CEO is not true. How did you come by this conclusion?
It's not that it's not true. It's not substantiated. First of all, let me correct the preliminary statement you made. The Cocoa Board CEO was saying that Russia was using Burkina Faso to smuggle cocoa. Not that Burkina Faso is smuggling cocoa for Russia, but Russia was the one instigating the cocoa smuggling. And I found it a bit disturbing that somehow Ghana has thrown all diplomacy away and is now very willing to name and shame its foreign partners, more than we are willing and prepared to name and shame our own officials and political class who are actually mismanaging, issues at home. So the policy brief basically has two dimensions. First of all, is the allegation about the smuggling. And the available data shows that if in 2023, which was last year, Cote d'Ivoire imported a total of $7.5 thousand worth of cocoa, and if all that cocoa was smuggled to Russia, it's a very small amount, a fraction of Ghana's current standing of 800,000 metric tons. That amount that I mentioned is just about 2.0 to 3.9, less than 4 metric tons, compared to or with 800,000 metric tons. So the argument is that this cocoa CEO is trying to find some reasons to explain why our cocoa production is going down. And he's suggesting that, among others, it is because Russia is colluding with Burkina Faso to smuggle our cocoa. And the speaker before me actually showed that more cocoa smuggling took place into Togo. And Cocoa Board on its own website has explained that cocoa smuggling goes east and west into Togo and into Cote d'Ivoire. Now, if cocoa has to reach Burkina Faso, I was speaking to a professor who said that the northernmost part of Ghana that produces cocoa is around Techiman. So cocoa will need to travel from Techiman all the way to Paga. And we are saying that we cannot stop it. Which brings me to the other dimension of having to use the military. And I'm suspecting that, like their Greek ministers claim about drought and the need for military to stop smuggling, this Cocoa CEO is also saying that the military must be deployed in order to check smuggling. And you begin to smell rats. That in this election year, every issue that Ghana supposedly is having is being securitized. And then we are looking to the military to solve that.
So you smell a rat in what direction?
Yeah. We just left 2020, didn't we? And we saw how, under the pretext of Western Togoland threat, the military was deployed largely to the Volta region and to other places in the Bono Ahafo with significant Ewe settlements. We saw how the military misapplied themselves in intimidating voters to come out to vote.
So you support the narrative of the NDC?
Excuse me?
You support the narrative of the NDC that this is a ploy to intimidate voters?
My paper speaks for itself. So I produced the evidence that, as I was saying, 2.0 to 4.0 metric tons of cocoa smuggled to Burkina Faso cannot be the reason why Ghana has dropped from 1.05 thousand metric tons to 800,000 metric tons. 2 to 4 metric tons cannot explain why that decline. It's because we have mismanaged the agri sector.
Doc, let me find out from you, Keno, how you think this could jeopardize what you call Ghana's fragile relationship with Burkina Faso.
Look, we need our neighbors, whether they are part of ECOWAS or not. We need them in order that we establish, credible, concrete, reliable security cooperation mechanisms. And the more we antagonize Burkina Faso, to the extent that 2022 December, our president goes to the United States to tell America about intelligence items that Russia had deployed on its borders. Now, between Ghana and America, who knows what is going on in the world? Why do you have to go to Washington to do that? They were not very happy. They called the ambassador, summoned him, and the rest is the history that we know. Then, several years later, a couple of years later, this politically appointed person, instead of managing his cocoa business, is now trying to play international politics. So we are jeopardizing our relations with Burkina Faso, and that may worsen, the already fragile security situation that we have around the threat of terrorism. Then we're also antagonizing Russia. And the danger is that we are being baited. Either we are aware or we are not aware, but I have suggested that we are being negligent in being drawn into eastward tensions. And Ghana's foreign policy, from Kwame Nkrumah's time, has largely been one of non-alignment. We deal with the West and we deal with the East. But all of a sudden, it's as if the West is good, the East is bad. And we are apportioning all our blames, COVID, everything, Ukraine, Russia. Now, last July, I think, it's in the article, Ukraine intelligence called GUR, intelligence agency, like our NIB or BNI, shared intelligence with the rebels in Mali, which killed Malians and killed Russians. Now, if you are weakening the Malian effort to contain their terrorism, then you are creating situations where the terrorists become stronger, and then they may begin to threaten Ghana. And that is a danger in our relationship with Burkina Faso, where we're trying to undermine the Russian presence, which is their sovereign prerogative. So I've suggested that Ghana is interfering in the sovereign prerogatives of Burkina Faso. They don't tell us who our friends should be. So why should we tell them who their friends should be? In any case, these Russians that we're talking about used to be 300. July, they withdrew 100 to go and defend the homeland because Ukraine, made an incursion into the Kursk region. Are we saying that 200 Russians who are protecting Captain Traore and training some elements of the Burkinabe army are the ones that are setting up chocolate factories or whatever it is to smuggle Ghana's cocoa in huge tonnages to Burkina Faso? That is the risk that we are running into.
We'll have to end it here. Thank you very much, Colonel Festus Abuaje.
He's
yes, you're welcome, sir. Thank you very much for speaking to us. You're still here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Menua Fall is standing by with the latest in business after this break.
Everyone is running to Bills. Enjoy the peace of mind that comes with acquiring any of our loan facilities. For whoever you are and whatever you're doing, Bills has a product for you. No susu, no deposits. All you need is your Ghana card. Call 0302-200-390 or 0596-928-33 today and live a bill-free life. Bills Microcredit is licensed by the Bank of Ghana. Bills, financing your needs. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, good evening. It's time now for the business segment on Hot Edition. Coming up tonight, Securities and Exchange Commission to release 1.5 billion cedis as bailout for affected customers of locked up funds of failed fund management companies. My name is Menua Fall. We'll bring you details of this and more. Now, the details. The Securities and Exchange Commission has announced a timetable for releasing locked up funds of investors of failed fund management companies that had their licenses revoked in November 2019. A statement from SEC dated September 12, 2024 made reference to an approval by government through the Ministry of Finance to release 1.5 billion cedis as part of the bailout program to the affected investors. The statement explained that the bailout money released so far has been used to pay a total number of 84,202 investor claims of the failed fund management companies, out of which 69,445, representing approximately 82% investor claims, have been fully settled. The SEC said the bailout covers investors with examined claims who have accepted the government's bailout package. According to the statement, the top-up is estimated to result in close to 91% of affected investors being fully settled. The bailout will be rolled out through the Special Purpose Vehicle Amalgamated Mutual Fund managed by GCB Capital Limited. Away from that, the Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana, CIMG, has joined the crusade against Galamsey's destructive toll on Ghana's sustainability efforts. At a sustainability summit in Accra, CIMG President Dr. Daniel Kaseti delivered a stern warning about the Galamsey menace, underscoring its far-reaching and debilitating consequences for the nation's economy and sustainable future.
In our part of the world, our key resources. You wake up in the morning, the sun is up, we are wasting that resource. We need to create awareness about how to tap into and put those energies so created to use. Today we're talking about Galamsey. Galamsey is not only destroying river bodies or water, it's affecting Mother Earth and also the forest and all other living things that depend on the environment. That also goes waste. So our water bodies are going, our forest is going, our sunlight is getting wasted and everything. So the awareness creation, the purpose of CIMG getting involved in this is to help in this advocacy to bring attention of every individual in Ghana and businesses to how it is necessary today, very critical, for us to come together to take advantage of exploiting all the positivities that are within our reach.
That was President of Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana, Dr. Daniel Kaseti. Meanwhile, Chief Executive of the Chartered Institute of Bankers Ghana, Robert Chateau, is urging all stakeholders to join forces against illegal mining, a major threat to sustainability.
We know that this Galamsey thing must stop. And we know that it's destroying our environment, but also it's destroying the economic side of things because our cocoa production is going down. Our water bodies are being, really poisoned, which means that the vegetables you eat or the plantain or the fufu you eat on your table may be poisoned. Our water tables are being poisoned. So very soon we may be importing water. Very soon we may not have an economy at all. So for us, it's about character. We need to solve this. We need character. And we also need the knowledge, bring awareness to this in terms of what this means, the destruction. We are saying that, yes, by all means, extract what you need to extract. It must be done sustainably, because if we don't, then we don't have a future. And sustainability is about really taking what you can take today, but also make sure that we don't deprive the future generation of the same benefits.
That was Chief Executive of the Chartered Institute of Bankers Ghana, Robert Jatu. And that's it for Business News on Hot Edition. For more stories, please check out our website. It's www.3news.com. My name is Minu Alfred. Do stay tuned. Sports News is up next.
Good evening, it's time for sports here on Hot Edition. My name is Kelvin Owusu Antan. Let's begin from Inswatraman's Football Club and their boy to get a very good position in the Africa CAF Confederation Cup campaign. And they are going to play CS Constantine tomorrow at the Accra Sports Stadium at 3 p.m. This marks a very high continental debut and a challenge for the Ghanaian club. The team's journey began on a very high note. Back-to-back victories against Elect Sport in the preliminary round ensured the progression. Head coach Yao Prekun believes they must start very well.
We're playing home, like you said. We have to take the game to them. We have to let them chase the game. We have to take control over the game. We have to make sure that we utilize our chances and then through that we might see where they fall short and where we think we can hurt them, and then at the end of the 90 minutes with the result, we'll strategize again and then go to the away game and see how it goes.
So that is from Yao Preko. However, CS Constantine and their place in this round after an impressive victory over Police FC from Rwanda, showcasing their offensive prowess with a 4-1 scoreline across 2 legs. Preko has called all fans of Nswatraman to support the team tomorrow.
Yeah, it's unfortunate we'll not be playing the game here. But if they'll be able to come to Accra and support the team, they should do so, because their support will ginger the boys to fight. So we're hoping to see them in Accra.
Hoping to see them in Accra, according to Yao Preko. The game is at 3 p.m. at the Accra Sports Stadium. Now, away from that, Stephen Apea, former captain of the Black Stars, has strongly criticized the potential move to play Ghana's home matches abroad due to CAF's ban on Ghanaian stadiums. He called it a national embarrassment on social media, urging prioritization of hosting games and protecting football pride. CAF deemed all Ghanaian stadiums unfit for international matches, despite over 200 million invested in these facilities. The Ministry of Youth and Sports have disputed this, claiming Accra Sports Stadium and the University of Ghana Stadium meet the requirement. However, some within the GFA suspect the ministry stance is to avoid the blame. Now, former Asante Kotoko coach, who is currently the head coach of Dreams FC, Abdul Karim Zito, explains why he's very happy that CAF has punished Ghana.
It shouldn't have happened. Because when you come to Africa and we talk about football, I think Ghana starts top. And then when you go into the coaching itself, factors affecting performance, the first is a major part of factors affecting performance. And these boys we are using are used to this type of falls outside. And so when they come here, they feel very uncomfortable, afraid of injury. And then look at the goal scored against it. It was, if the field were to be a good field, maybe he wouldn't have missed this kick. He would have had it all right. And then, because when you see the intention, the ball just bounced and then you couldn't make it. So I say this is to me, I'm okay with that, with this decision. But yes, because this will help us to do things better. Because it's like today we go to Babayara, we play, the next time trouble. Today we go to Babayara. But during the African Confederation, when I went to Rwanda, I look at the field. I say no, Ghana, we are far back. Far back. Even the dressing room of the coaches alone tells you something. So to me, if this alone we made them stand up and then make sure we had a good first, I'll be very happy.
Well, so that is from Abdul Karim Zito on the ban of CAF on Ghanaian stadiums. Now, away from the local scene, let's get into England, where Mikel Arteta signed a new 3-year contract to remain as Arsenal manager. The club announced on Thursday. It's been a report that the 42-year-old Spanish will receive a significant increase on his existing $9 million a year salary. Arteta speaks on his decision to extend his stay as Arsenal boss.
For my coaching staff, where they are relentless, supporting me, challenging me, inspiring me, giving me ideas, making me a better coach, better person every single day. It goes to the staff around, that is a joy, the energy that they bring in, the dedication, the love and the passion that they have for the game and to get better. And then it goes up to the board. I think you have the sense what the club is about, the energy that we bring, the decision that we make, the way we work, the way we transmit it. I think that's been extremely powerful to the outside world and especially to our own supporters, and I feel very lucky because I feel loved. I feel respected, but I feel loved. I feel a really special connection between us. And I think the players do feel the same thing. And when that goes beyond just your work or what you're trying to deliver, that becomes really, really powerful. And I think that's a really strong point that we have at the club.
So that is from Mikel Arteta. Now let's move on away from him to Manchester United boss Erik ten Hag, and he says he's not ready to respond to Cristiano Ronaldo, who has been criticizing the club. Ten Hag believes there is no opportunity for anyone outside the club to bring in noise.
He said that Manchester United can't win the Premier League.
He said that you...
No, he said this. If you read the article very well. So he's far away from Saudi, or far away from Manchester. So everyone can have, and is entitled to have an opinion. It's okay.
Well, it's okay if he's entitled to his opinion. That is from Erik ten Hag. Things haven't come too easy for him. Well, we just wait how things will pan out in subsequent days. Well, let's move on away from the Manchester United team. And Tottenham Hotspur midfielder Rodrigo Bentancur has been charged by the Football Association for saying that all South Korean people look the same during a television appearance. In a clip posted on social media from a June interview conducted in Spanish on Uruguayan television program Por la Camiseta, host Rafa Cotello asked Bentancur for a Spurs player shirt, which he replied, Sonny's, it could be Sonny's cousin too, as they all look the same. Now, away from that, let's finish off with some boxing news. And so Canelo Alvarez has revealed he wants to show everybody he's still the best when he faces Edgar Berlanga in Las Vegas on Saturday. 4-weight world champion Alvarez puts his WBO, WBA, and WBC super middleweight titles on the line. The Mexican boasts of a record of 61 wins, 2 draws, and 2 losses. I always take my fight seriously and train 100% no matter who is in there. I always have the same mentality, Alvarez revealed. I'll show everybody I am still the very best in the industry. So that is from him. Let's get into some Formula One news, where Lando Norris wants to win the title, and he says he wants to try to end the world title on merit, despite McLaren asking his teammate Oscar Piastri to support the Briton if necessary. McLaren team principal Andre Stella told BBC Sport the team would bias their operations towards Norris as they seek to win the drivers' title as well as the constructors' championship this season. So that is it there from Lando Norris and Formula One, and it wraps up our sport here on Hot Edition. My name is Kelvin Oswanta. Beatrice and Alfred Ocansey are here, and they will take over.
Are you ready? The countdown to the most explosive Afro experience of the year has begun. It's the 3FM Afro Connect 2024, happening live on Saturday, 21st September at the monumental Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park. It promises to be a day filled with a display of Africa's dynamic cultures, pulsating beats, electrifying performances, and pure Afro vibes. Come and experience the infectious energy of Africa's great people in the most iconic food battle of the continent, the Jollof Wars. Which African country takes home the crown for the best jollof? You don't want to miss this epic celebration of Africa. The 3FM Afro Connect, 21st September at the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park, Accra. Feel the pulse. Feel the vibe of Africa. Are you a vendor or international exhibitor? This is your moment. Come and showcase your unique products to thousands of culture lovers from around the world. Call 0532 200 927 or 0531 100 927 right now. 3FM Afro Connect 2024, where Africa meets the rest of the world. Sponsored by Fortune Rite, Frital Oil, Bills Microcredit, and
Fidelity Bank, Flora Tissue, and Dewa Chop Money.
And powered by 3FM with the Media General Group. Follow us at 3FM 927 for more. 3FM 92.7, your urban lifestyle radio.
Thank you very much, Kelvin Owusu-Ansah, for bringing us the latest in sports. And you're still here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Welcome to Campaign Trail. And on Campaign Trail tonight, we start from the camp of the governing NPP because the party has officially presented second Deputy Speaker and independent MP for Fomena, Andrew Asiama, as the party's parliamentary candidate for the December elections. Now, Ashanti Regional Chairman of the party, Bernard Enchibu-Esiakon, made the official announcement to the constituency executives today. Now, recall that the second Deputy Speaker decided to run as independent candidate in 2020 after he was sacked from the NPP. The party hierarchy also had his seat declared vacant in Parliament. At the end of the polls, Mr. Asiama managed to obtain 12,805 of the total votes cast by beating his contenders Philip Oforia-Sante of the NPP and Christiana PJ of the National Democratic Congress, who polled 10,798 and 2,608 votes. Let's cross over now to our Northern Regional Bureau Chief William Evans Inkum, who is at the venue right now. Evans, how will this play up, in the lead up to the 2024 general election? Tell us.
The fact that the MPP as a party doesn't have time in conducting primary and also settling discord among aggrieved members. And then secondly, the fact that Andrew Asiama has a firm ground as far as the constituency is concerned. He may not necessarily be popular among delegates in the MPP, but he continues to command the constituency. And I mean, if you are talking about the numbers, you and I will agree that the constituents are more than the number of people who form the MPP electoral college. So these were the two things that the party looked at before arriving at that particular decision. Of course, some of the political connoisseurs have been asking questions whether the party did not bypass its own constitution to do this. But any time such a question is raised, you also hear from the side of the party and executive members also saying that, well, when it comes to decision making, the National Executive Council, with the higher decision making of the party, also has the power to sometimes sidestep the constitution and then agree on things that they believe will also be of interest or supreme interest of the party. So basically, that is what they looked at before arriving, at that particular decision. They also cite, the Bekwai example in 2008 and also Bosome Frehon, when Opoyi Kwagu also contested an independent candidate, but he was later co-opted to the party to also go on the ticket of the party. So these were some of the reasons why the party took the decision. But I must tell you that a larger number of the executives in the constituency, at the constituency level, are happy that Andrew Asiama is present as an MPP parliamentary candidate and not as an independent candidate. At least it adds to the numbers of the MPP, but I want you to hold on, William. William, you were saying something? Yes, I was just saying that I agree with you. Yes, so I want you to hold on because we have Chairman Guntumi speaking to us, and then we'll continue with our conversation.
137. Now, so I'm not no. Ne kasa bia no ne kasa majority enti ne nsam bia ne bibia okodi ye bia no wanane nani amfa amane ne party ne da as bia sida ba kokra enti ye honorable Asiama there the whole party and the Fomena constituency nyina so eda na se pa Fomena constituency there said the other man for being suicide. Ebi eje betum ne ho ye yi no chese afa oboko ho omutu wo mani no for Mina constituency dancing north
in the leader to the
asudwie kwa sokra your candidate ye de ne ko election 2024 yi nipa ba akopɛ ene ye de ne ko ewo for Mina constituency ono ane politically Joseph Asiama.
And you just heard Bernard and Chibuasiako. William, are you able to tell us in summary what he said in Tree?
Well, so he said that Andrew Setiama, ever since he won the seat as an independent candidate for the Pomena constituency, he has been very, very supportive at the plenary, and even at a point in time decided to join the party when
him as the parliamentary candidate of the MPP, in whom the leadership of the party is well pleased.
Has been very loyal to the party and is somebody that the party needs at this time.
Beyond that, we also understand that the second deputy speaker himself, who has now been acclaimed the MPP parliamentary candidate for this constituency, has been speaking. What can you tell us before we hear exactly what he said?
Well, so he is saying that it is a good time for him to lead the party, and of course, it will also be very disastrous for Ghanaians not to retain the MPP in power, because there are a number of developments that the party has started, and he believes that retaining the party in power will ensure that these developments are executed or completed.
Yeah, Ghana. Me say Ghana for be a great mistake. Say ma aban entwaso. If you say the entire make us say sabio matna aban kaka na parliament o minima kakra. Say ye mistakes yes san aban ya. Ye ni pa foforo ba na aban foforo ba. Enyema papa ya hyase nyinara. Say the omampani dada Mahama was say one who near me cost 20 was so about 20 dinars. Now, and cry ya did this. Ye bath and ye baby, him, ye say, Yanti and you feel nine so. You make dear papa, ya shas here, men come from numbers, bottom best as uncle. The on my moon in ano, Ninana, ne
And that was Andrew Asiama, the second deputy speaker. William Evans Income is there on the line. William, once again, briefly tell us what he was saying.
Well, so he said that it will be it will be a greatest mistake on the part of the Ghanaian electorate not to vote for the MPP to continue the good work it has started. If they should change government, what it means that it takes time for the ruling, for the next administration, which of course will be the opponent, to also go through or do some auditing about, in some of the development that or project that this particular administration is already doing, and that will not mean well to Ghanaians. So, in order to ensure some consistency as far as continuation of projects, are concerned, it is just imperative that electorate ensure that the votes to retain the ruling New Patriotic Party in power in December.
And as far as the constituents are concerned, is a happy ground or happy time for the MPP?
Well, to them, yes.
Thank you very much, William Evans Income. He's our Northern Regional Bureau Chief. We're joined by Dr. Jonathan Asante-Otre, a political analyst. Good evening to you, Doc. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Beatrice.
Doc, how will this work out for the MPP going into this year's general election?
Is it in connection with what has happened?
With bringing, quote-unquote, Andrew Asiama back to the party officially, although he's been doing business with the party in Parliament since he went independent. But now officially, he's coming to represent the party for that constituency once again.
Well, I'll start by saying that, the moment they did not conduct primaries, when they were doing general primaries for both orphan constituencies and where they are parliamentarians, then you have to know that obviously that is a decision that the party is going to turn to. And so, it makes a little more sense for the party to keep him at this point in time. But that decision had already been taken they did not conduct primaries there. But as to whether it will yield the benefits of the party, I think it would. But of course, they are doing politics of convenience, which has been disguised as politics of, it has been disguised as a progressive or pragmatism. They are just being pragmatic in taking that particular decision. But you see, it suits you today, you are critical tomorrow. And that is that they are picking and choosing in the application of the constitutional provision as embedded in the constitution of the party. In itself is something that tells me that in as much as they are being progressive, they are also very unprincipled.
Very unprincipled, and you also earlier mentioned politics of convenience. How did you expect the NPP to go about this?
That's the best thing that they ought. Because, you see, that is why I said that when they decided that whenever they had more than 5 presidential candidates, they were going to conduct, presidential primaries first, special whatever first, and then after that they will reduce the number to 5, and then they will conduct it. Now, when they applied it the previous time, and now you see the problem that has created for them. Today, you don't have in your fold the likes of Alan, and he is a very formidable figure in the party that has deserted the party and has formed his own movement. That in itself is a challenge and a blight in the records of the party, and it will affect them in the 2024 election.
We'll have to end it here. The program here on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice.
And I am Alfred Ocansey. Join me at 10 p.m. on TV3 for Ghana Tonight.
Thank you very much for joining us today. Log on to shrenews.com for more news. Have a good evening and do enjoy the rest of our programs.
Very important.